before we jump into like youth ministry stuff, let's talk a little bit about that. You were working in the corporate world. You felt this tug and call in your heart. I want to work in the church. Like, yeah, talk us through that.
Before I decided to just leave hospitality, there was something in my heart that I wanted to do more. I love the practical aspect of ministry, being with people, relating to people. And that really drew me to like desiring more in the service that I was giving in the church.
God will use all aspects of our lives. Like our church, we need some help in the hospitality field. We need help in how we connect and make people feel welcome.
This is what Catholic youth ministry looks like.
Exploring the 5 M's of ministry.
With Brother Morel, also known as a symbol.
Hey guys, welcome back, and this is what youth ministry looks like. Today I got a good friend of mine, Angelica, and we've done a lot of things together. We've connected in so many events, gone into places, collaborated with our own local youth ministries, done camp trips together with the kids. So yeah, Angelica, you can introduce yourself and we'll flow from there.
Well, I always like to introduce myself as Angelica.
That's why I did that.
I bring that sabor Latino wherever we go.
Right.
But yes, I am a full-time youth minister at in the Diocese of Brooklyn, in Queens particularly, Our Lady of Lourdes. And it's beautiful to say that I've been doing this for over 9 years full-time. I left my corporate world in hospitality in order to work with young people. So, and we're talking about space, right?
Yeah, we'll get there. So, no. So, wait. So you mean that you don't like when people call you Angelica Tavarez?
I do, but I find myself to find an identity when I say Angelica.
Right.
And I think when you can identify with something, you are creating a welcoming and a respectful environment. Mm-hmm. And I want to feel that way wherever I go. And I think people want me to feel that way wherever I go. I say my name the way I like it, or just finding
you gotta be you.
That comfort. Yes.
Yeah, who God designed you to be.
Yeah.
So before we jump into like youth ministry stuff, let's talk a little bit about that. You were working in the corporate world. You felt this tug and call in your heart. I want to work in the church. Like, yeah, talk us through that a little bit.
Yes. Sometimes I think about it because I've never been in youth ministry. I did not go through youth ministry when I was younger. And but I did start getting involved, and I started serving in different capacities in the parish as a volunteer. And then I went to college. And I decided to major in business, but there was something in me. One day I took an internship and I was able to navigate the world of hospitality. And I went back and I decided to minor in hospitality. And I worked in a hotel for 11 years. Loved it. Hospitality was my thing, But there was something like 2 or 3 years prior for me, before I decided to just leave hospitality. There was something in my heart that I wanted to do more. And I began different formations within the church. And I did a leadership formation. And then I decided to do a master's in pastoral studies. I love the practical aspect of ministry, being with people, relating to people. And that really drew me to like desiring more in the service that I was giving in the church. Mm-hmm. But I was very, very restless in my job, even though I loved it. And I think sometimes we struggle with decisions like of the 2 things that you like. Mm-hmm. Where is God calling you? Even though 2 things can be good for you,
that's good.
But where are you going? So that's where I felt, but I was very restless. And then as I was volunteering in my local parish, all of a sudden my priest, my pastor offered me, would you like to do youth ministry for part-time? But there was something in my heart that said, if I'm going to do this, I got to go.
Go all in.
All in.
Yeah,
if not,
word.
don't do this.
Jump in the deep end.
Yes, correct. So I said, I took the risk. It's either a full-time or I won't take it. And that's where it all started.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's like a bold little thing. Like, hey, look, nah. I ain't taking no half.
No. And I told God, I need 3 things.
Okay.
in order
Yeah.
for this to happen or for me to feel at peace that this is the right decision. So I was just risking it all, despite the fact that I love hospitality. But the beauty that I was able to bring hospitality to ministry,
Right.
like I did not see any disconnection.
Mm-hmm.
But it's beautiful because I was discovering that as I went along. I didn't see it right away. But I just fit in very nicely into that. So that's...
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think there's a good thing about that. Like I noticed this with a lot of people, right? It's like God will use all aspects of our lives, right? Like he like, okay, cool. I need, like our church, we need some help in the hospitality field. We need help in how we connect and make people feel welcome. So I'm going to strategically plant Angelica, boop, or Angelica, right? Boop, learn this. Cool, you learn some. Now we're going to, hey, come right back over here. Let's learn. And that's why I want to bring this here today. So working in youth ministry, again, like we've done stuff where we've gone into a parish and sometimes you walk in and you're like, hey, you got a sound system? Hey, what chairs are we using? Hey, and then there's times where you're like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what do I do with this, right? How important in general do you think the environment is in communicating to young people that it's just important, that they're important?
I think we need to be more intentional in how we prepare space for our young people.
Mm-hmm.
Period. It just reminds me every time when we go into a parish and we're about to do a retreat and we're looking at each other, it's like, does this work? And we start kind of calculating, like, how is a chair being set up? Do we have sound?
Mm-hmm.
Does our voice reach,
Right.
where they're sitting? Is it in a church? Is it in an auditorium? How open it is? How big the group is? I think we need to, when we think about how we communicate with our young people in the environment, we need to pay attention to the details.
Right.
Who, why, when, where. Why are we doing this? What's our audience? The space itself. And I think the intentionality and when we want to do this and how we want to do it is very important because it creates a welcoming environment. Depending on how we set up the space, our young people can feel a lot more comfortable in opening up.
Right.
And also allowing them to just be. Because I think spaces can be very restrictive in regards to when young people can be themselves. So I think we have to be very, pay attention to that.
Right. So I'm thinking about like even, okay, let's use that. Like there's times like, no, wait a minute. Let's use this room instead. Oh, wait a minute. Let's face them in this direction because the light is coming from the window.
Let's do a
this way.
circle instead of theater style.
Right. Or let's move the chairs out because they need to move and they need to engage, right? Like
Correct. Or let's take them outside, give them a break.
Right.
There's intentionality, but we have to allow ourselves to listen to the Spirit. You walk into a space, and believe it or not, there is a feel to it.
Facts.
You walk in and you just see the people, see the space, and you just allow the Spirit to transform the space where He can communicate in the most effective way. And if we don't start thinking about that, I think we become ineffective in the way we speak or address our young people. So I think there's a lot of intentionality.
Yeah, and you can see, I know where there's moments where, and there's times, again, I'm asked, and I'm like, I'm not in charge, but I'm asked to just come in and let's say give the talk or whatever. So I'm like, I'm operating on your terms. And I can see from the moment they come in, what the facial expressions they have on, how they interact with one another, right? Sometimes, again, based on the way the space is set up, the way the music is playing when they come in, the colors of the room affect mood. And there's all kinds of psychology of that. I don't know if even like thinking about like even going back to like the hospitality thing in hotels, that's all those things are thought through. It's like, hey, we want our customers to have the best experience, right? But how do we apply that to our church and our ministries?
Yeah. I know we don't want to look at this as a business, But if we think about it, a church is a business. If we think about it in the practical sense and we apply what we learn in business school, our customers are very important. How do we satisfy our customer? What do we start thinking about it? And in the hotel itself, we start looking at what do they need? What are they looking for? What kind of budget they may have?
Right.
The space of the hotel, how can we accommodate them in regards to a particular requirements that they have? So you got to think of that. And I think of a customer saying, it reminds me a lot because a customer, it's always right? Somehow or another. And you cannot say no to a customer. So when I think of hospitality, how do I address the needs of a community, of a parish, without saying automatically no, but finding options in order to serve them?
Right. You do the best with what you have. I mean, I'm thinking about, as you were saying this, right? Like, I'm thinking about it. This is a relatively recent conversation where, now it wasn't talking about space, right? But along the same lines of thinking hospitality, right? And this is no shade, right? Because I think I understand the mind frame behind it. But there was a person that was talking about the music at Mass, and they felt like they needed something to kind of move them a little bit more. And the priest's response to this person, I was in the background, I wasn't a part of the conversation, but they were like, well, sometimes we need to prepare ourselves. So I make sure, I listen to my worship music in the morning before going to Mass. I read the readings before and afterwards. And I was like, okay, on one end, I understand, like, we need to challenge people to grow. We need to challenge our young people to grow, right? Like, we can't make it so comfortable for them all the time that they don't know how to work in an uncomfortable situation. But at the same time, I was also thinking, like, what you're unintentionally saying to this lady is, you need to take care of you because I'm not going to take care of you. That's what happens in that conversation, right? It's like, no, you got to, like, tend to your own spiritual. And again, I understand it in one sense, but there has to be a healthy balance in between. And again, I'm talking specifically about young people. Maybe the way in which we engage in adults who are, need to go further in their faith formation. Maybe we need to challenge them a little more. But a first-time young person, there's something that the lights could do. There's something that the color could do. There's something that being able to run around can do that then makes them go, oh, I'm welcome here. Oh, God does really love me. This church really does accept me. And those kind of things. I don't know what you think about that. It was just running through my mind as you were sharing that little piece about hospitality.
It's interesting. The first thing that came to mind when you said that is just the aspect that we are community. So when we begin to think of our own individual needs, what happens to the community needs? And I think when we're thinking about ministry, there is an aspect of wanting to care for the other person. And when you care for the other person, you pastorally care for the other person, you're thinking about the needs of the other person. Not what makes me comfortable, not what I need, not what I think, how I'm going to prepare myself. And yes, that counts for it. But how can I communicate that to other people so that if in case that person is not at the same level, we are able to share that together. But we have to do it together in community.
Right.
So, and when I think of ministry, there is a maternal, feminine, aspect to ministry. And us as female, we care, we give life, we tend to the needs of our the life that we're caring for. And ministry is just the same way. Ministry has that sense of how we're caring for others. A baby needs many different things in order to survive. But we can just say, well, I need sleep, so I'm not going to give my child, their food at 5 o'clock in the morning because I'm thinking of me, because I'm preparing myself, to go to work. No, I actually have to say, well, yes, I do need sleep. I need to wake up. I need to prepare my child's lunch or whatever, if they're going to go to school that day. But I got to think of what my baby or my child needs as well. So in response to that, I'm just thinking, okay, yes, there might be an individual need, but how do we satisfy it, or how do we fulfill the need of other people while we do that as well?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. There's a healthy balance in that. And just what you just said, you've literally done that with me. Like, I know there's times like, Brandon, do you need anything? You've been running and doing this. Can you go sit down for a little bit? But like thinking about, because we're talking hospitality, right? Like, even though we're talking about the space, the people are part of the space too, and making sure that they feel equipped and they feel loved, and all of that, I think, is important in the process as well.
Yeah, and at times we overlook those details. Because if you are serving the community, you went to the retreat, and I see that you're tired, how are you going to serve them if you're tired? So if I notice that, how can I be able to be attentive to your needs in order for us to be effective? The same way goes, how do we attend to the catechists who are trying to like allow or bring their students to a space of encounter when they also need to be tended to?
Right.
How do we go in? Do we just go in and just start our talk, or do we say, hey, let's actually get to know the space, let's get to know the kids, how are they feeling, even the adults? And we've been into spaces where adults just sit in the back.
Yep.
But then they're allowing us to do our thing, to do our, music and to do our talks. And there are times where I've invited the adults as well. Because when the young people see the adults being involved in the same space where they are, they see them differently. It reminds me when we did Catholic Youth in Diocese of Brooklyn, where we got involved, the leaders in the beginning through games. And that changed the environment for our young people there. They were laughing with their leaders.
Yeah.
They were like having conversations with leaders. They were engaging with their leaders. And that changed their expectation and how they opened up themselves to the entire event. Because their leader came down to their level.
Yeah. It softens their heart, and then they're able to have a moment where they can now recognize Jesus in the Eucharist. Now they can recognize those things.
We become more human.
Right. So going back, how would you define an effective meeting space? Like if you had to say this is the ideal, what would be an effective space? What are some elements of that?
Okay, let's go into elements, because I don't think there is an ideal space, because I think it's a matter of the needs of the community and what's there.
Right.
But when we look at elements, we look at the space, the lighting, the layout, both the chairs and the space.
Yeah, like the actual dimensions of the room, you mean?
Correct, yes. Dimension. But even how we locate, we structure the space with tables and chairs. Do we want more of an open space, or do we want more of a discussion area?
Right. Well, there's a lot of research about color theory and how it influences moods, right? So there's a reason why they say there's an issue in some public school buildings in the way they paint the walls, and how sometimes, and I'm sorry, this is what the data shows, that a lot of our public schools are painted the same way that prisons are. You know what I'm saying? So what are we communicating? And then in our catechetical programs, we're like, oh, let's copy the public schools. But what are you communicating if that's the same thing as the prison walls? Like there's right? So like red evokes something, blue evokes something, greens evoke something, right? The graphics on the screen, if you use slides or not, right?
Image. People learn different ways. That's a great element.
Yeah.
Are you just would you have images? Sound is important as well. Things, we're preparing a dynamic space where they can either reflect. Do we have the resources as necessary? Just as simple as a piece of paper with pen. Do we have those things in order for them to engage? And going back to the idea of like a school building, we want our young people to engage in the faith. And when you talk about engagement, there is a human aspect of that. And when we look at our classrooms, particularly, we have chairs, and it automatically tells our young people that they're being taught too. When, if we want to engage or encounter the Lord, it's not about being taught. It's about experiencing together. So even if you think about how we even teaching our young people the faith, just the fact that they think that they're going into a school setting, not an experiential setting,
Well,
that
yeah.
changes your mentality.
Yeah. Well, we're saying this, but also like I think there is an element of catechetical teaching that's going to form the mind, right? But also that heart and handheld, like the connectivity experience. But I quote this a lot because even in the word education, the root words educare and educere, one means to give something to and the other one means to pull something out of, right? So there should be almost a dialogue between education. So we want to teach them, scripture, catechism, prayers, saints, like all these. But then we also want to pull what are the unique gifts that the Holy Spirit, that God has given you out of you so that you can then participate in the faith life of the church, right? And then I've been recently, there's a whole new thing where traditional education, going back to like teachers, they talk about the exploration. So like the Latin word explorare, like do we give space for our young people to actually explore, right? So yeah, give them some knowledge, bring something from, but then also explore in this kind of experience with them as we're teaching, informing, and all of that.
How do you bring this
Yeah.
to the heart and to the hand?
Right.
So if it stays here, just in the mind, we're just giving them information. But when it flows from the heart, that's when you begin to, it's more practical. It's an action.
Right.
So.
I want to pause for a brief moment to let you know that this series was brought to you and it was produced by Kari Films. Kari Films is a Catholic media production company whose mission is to capture the beauty of the Catholic faith. They do this through capturing live events. They do this through podcasts, testimonials, music videos, and more. You can find out more about them in the description below. Now let's get back to it. One of the things you said a little while ago was sound, and it was playing in the back of my mind. What are some examples of like bad sound? Like you walked into this room, oh man, this sound is going to be difficult.
I could think of like if there's depending on the space, there could be echoing. But the first thing that really comes to mind, I'm also a lector in my parish. And one of the things I really is, are you projecting your voice? So when we're talking about sound and I want to project a message, do I know the sound of my voice?
Oh, that's good too.
Am I loud enough for them to hear me? Am I close to the mic? Those are little details that sometimes is a mic on.
Yeah.
And you go and I seen people speak or give a speech or they're up in the ambon, proclaiming the word. And they're speaking very softly, like if they're speaking to themselves. And when we're thinking about sound, I think we need to be aware of how we listen to ourselves and how we're projecting our voices as well. The way people hold the mic, for example.
Yeah.
Like when we're thinking about sound, I could hold the mic down here.
Yeah.
But if I'm not intentionally thinking, well, if I hold it here, how do I sound?
Yeah.
How loud am I?
Yeah.
And there are people that won't even notice that they're not even being heard by the audience that they're speaking to. So we're not thinking, we're just, okay, I'm just going to speak. I'm just letting it be. Or even with music.
So awareness.
I would think, awareness is a music reaching the entire space that we're in. But at times we just let it be. Oh, just put music on. Oh, get the mic on. Like we're not investing our time to make sure that sound sounds clear. I even went to a party one day, like we and the lady said, Angelica, it sounds weird because the speaker wasn't adequate for the space.
Right.
But then you compare it to another space. Well, they intentionally got speaker that was big enough for the space. They took care of any what is it called?
Like the way the sound bounces in the
Yes,
space. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
And those are things that you think about.
Yeah.
But if you just automatically just go in and just don't invest the time to make sure that it's done correctly,
Yeah.
then we're failing.
I mean, I'll add when I know, like, for example, in a lot of like parish halls or sometimes the cafeterias of our Catholic schools, there's those loud refrigerators that just be making noise and drown out sound, or the lights that make a lot of noise sometimes, and it can be distracting. So those are some other like particular ones that I know I think of.
Because I think that if we learn to work with the resources that we have and intentionally use them to be effective, we could manage, because we've been into spaces that we've been limited in space, in chairs, in time, and you make it work.
Yeah.
And think about decoration.
Yeah.
I think we don't think of that, but even if we're in a low budget, how can we decorate our space that can make it more comfortable and welcoming? And we could take time to do that. We don't need a lot of money to create a space where it can be welcoming or adequate to what we're doing. As simple as, there we go. This is a big one. I feel like the temperature in the room.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
If it's too cold or if it's too hot, how can we open windows? Or if we have fans, we want to make sure the fans are working properly.
Yeah.
Because those things will be more of a distraction.
Or does the room smell bad? How many times you walked into some crusty classroom and it just smelled funky? You're like, hey, I need some Febreze real quick. That's why we open windows for that reason also.
I know. I don't know if I should be saying this, but I truly believe, and cut this off if I'm not supposed to say this. There is no need for a church or a school to look disorganized or dirty, because I think that's where we can make an impact when the people come in. And when they see things in a disorderly way, that also affects the space.
Right.
And there's no need for parishes to be that way, because then that means, are we also allowing our people, our lay people, to share their talents, to be able to create a space where we can feel this is our space, we're welcome here. We feel respected when the space is geared to us, and you feel like an importance. Wow, this space looks beautiful. It's clean. It's neat. It allows me to pray, and everything should lead to an opportunity to encounter the Lord.
Right.
If we're thinking about music, is music done properly? Are the chairs comfortable? The imagery that we're using, are they located in the right place where people can see them? Like I was in an event the other day, and the screen was very low. People in the back couldn't see. Very simple fix. Lift up. But if we don't pay attention to that or listen to people's feedback, they could have just left the screen low. But then that affected people, how they,
Yeah, I mean, there's also the difference between a front projection screen versus a rear projection screen, TV on the wall, sometimes maybe you don't have an opportunity for visuals. So like, like I said, the posters or the, banners or whatever you use, or even like we're Catholic, statues, whatever we're going to use, like to make that engagement. And I want to touch this, like there's because you said is leading to that encounter, right? Where is the balance, you think, between making something welcoming, but also like invites them into the sacred, or, fun community, but then, okay, now this is going to be too much of a distraction. Now we need a moment to focus them for like a prayerful moment. Like, what's some of the differentiation in that?
Any space can be turned into a space of encounter, as simple as it may be. And I know we're talking about resources, but something that really comes to mind is the people who are in the space. Because we may not have the budget to have the lighting or to have by a decoration, but who's in this space welcoming our young people. And I think that's very important. I think we forget the humanity, the human aspect of hospitality. That we can tend to focus a lot on the material thing, on the equipment. So if we're thinking about how can we create a space where there can be encounter, I think the people there are important. How do we engage in them, and how do they're open to the people that are coming in. But I also believe that we can be creative with candles. We could be creative. How do we decorate? Those attention to details that can bring a space that can just be open, but lead into prayer.
Right.
I think if we're able to have different spaces, we can play around it. I think very importantly, when we're able to move around from one space to another.
That's good.
And I'm just thinking, for example, we could be in a very open space while we're doing games and icebreakers. They see the fun in it. But then all of a sudden, they just leave that room and they see a chapel with candles. That automatically shifts the mind of the young person walking into that chapel.
Right.
So if we're able to play around with moving parts in terms of spaces, I think that could be a great opportunity to create spaces where we feel like this is more social, and we can do the talks here, but then we move into another space where it could be a lot more sacred and going deeper into prayer, or even using music to change the atmosphere from a talk or a more engaging a space into prayer. And we need to start bringing down the lights.
That's a big one. I was thinking that one in my head. Yeah.
Changing the music from an upbeat music to a softer instrumental.
Yeah.
Like when you do that switch.
Yeah.
That indicates there is a change in mood. But again, you need to be intentional, because that transition there has to be to lead them to where you want them to go.
Right. I mean, just think about a movie, right? Like in an action scene, the music is going to be a certain type of way. I mean, flashing lights, whatever. Then when there's like a calm, sad scene, you're going to hear that change, right? Like there's going to be a distinction in that.
Even your tone of voice.
Right. Yeah, I just did that on purpose when I did it right now. Right?
Right?
But that's even in the talk, right? Like when you're giving the talk, delivering it to the kids. Like you be hyped like this, and then I need you to focus as I say this little piece, right? Like that's something in and of itself.
But again, going back to when I was talking about the mics, do we know how far we have the mic?
Right.
Do we listen to ourselves? It's the same thing. What's a tone of voice? Do we sound very, very monotonous when we speak? Because if we speak like that, then people are not paying attention. And it's just that, even that. So I think as youth ministers, I think we need to be, what's the word? Recognize what we bring and what we need to work on.
So a clear way of evaluating. Self-evaluation, space evaluation, team evaluation, and all of that. Yeah. All right. I got two questions and then we're going to land this ship, right? So one, how can our meeting spaces specifically, I want to think about the cultural identity, right? And I mean that culture is more than just ethnicity. It's what area do we live in? It's where do we go to school at? It's what do we like to engage with? What music do we listen to? What do we watch on social media, right? So being mindful, what are some cultural, like, intentional connections we can make for our spaces? Yeah.
As we get to know the community, what devotion that particular community have, imagery that they may use, music, language. You can connect a lot with the people when you speak their language. And I'm not just saying in regards to, particularly if you speak Spanish or English or Portuguese. No, even the words that are used in a community can help connect.
Right. Right.
Also know the audience that the way you're dressing can also communicate in a space depending on where you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, and I mean, it also goes back to what you said a little bit before about like there's the physical aspects of the space, but also the people that fill that space. Like you see Angelica, like she has that smiling face. Hi, how are you? I ever tell you that I'm grateful for you? Like that. That's a part of. And then also some cultures have certain expressions, the way that they talk with their hands or not. There's certain communities, the way they nod their heads when they talk, or the way they move. Like there's different things.
Or how
like
they
that
respond to you when they're listening to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. You were saying sacred moments, right? Like how do we move in that space or in that moment to engage them, right? Because I think there are some things that are a little bit more serious to some than to others, right? Like there are certain things that may be trigger words for certain people. There may be, like all of that sort of awareness can also help, I think, inform how we do things.
Also, when we're dealing with a lot of young people, and I've noticed, also be very attentive to the needs of the people. And when I'm talking about that, our young people can be very restless. So are we moving them enough from space to space so that they don't feel like they're just sitting for a very long time?
Yeah.
So that could also affect how we...
let's talk with that one. Like there is some people that believe that talks are better because they're longer. Not necessarily true.
No.
Right? Sometimes the 10 minutes can be better, or sometimes the hour. It depends on what it is and what the need is. So listening to what they need, in many ways to be able to respond in that way.
But let's go back. So how are we structuring our talk?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's another way that we need to be intentional. Are we being there's a lot of information that you're trying to give them, or are you bringing stories into the way you're speaking with them? Or I love it, you bring your music into it. You start singing and then all of a sudden you switch into a story, or you use physical objects so that they can see what you're trying to express or trying to communicate. Our young people need those dynamics to change as we're speaking. And not being talked to, but how can they also be engaged in the conversation that's happening?
Right.
So long does not mean that we're being more effective. It's how you break down the talk,
right,
in order to be effective.
Right.
Both the tone of voice, the dynamics that you're using, the music that you're incorporating, even the moments of reflection that you enter into that space and that talk can change.
Yeah.
Asking questions.
Yeah. Callback responses. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Last question. Let's just dream for a minute. This is like budget wasn't a problem. Pastor approved. This is the ideal youth ministry space. What's needed? What does that look like?
Okay.
What's in there?
I would love a space that's very flexible, meaning there's no tables or chairs that are like stuck to the floor. Comfortable chairs, even a space where they can just chill, like an open space, very
couches,
flexible.
Couches,
yes, that could work. Good projection, sound, lighting, and props. Money for props.
Okay, so a little like storage closet where you could just like y'all like doing
not
skits.
enough storage, but we need a storage space.
Yeah. Angelica's trying to do Broadway productions. That's what she... I mean, honestly, I'm joking, but like honestly, that would be dope. Like that would engage on a whole nother level. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. You got me excited. I just jumped in.
No, that's part of it. So yeah, if budget was not a problem, we need to make sure that the air conditioner AC
Right,
for the
right.
summertime.
Yeah, yeah.
Little things like that, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, money is not a problem, right? You told me.
Yeah, no,
so.
no, that's what I'm saying. We're dreaming. We're dreaming. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And instruments that we can allow our young people to use their talents. Provide that for them.
Yeah, I mean, so that goes even with the props is like a physical aspect of things, but even like instruments, musical instruments or artistic instruments, paintbrushes and things so they can do things like that. Video recording equipment, like those kind of things so that can be brought in. Well, thank you, Angelica. We pray this helps you guys out. Hey, take all these things into consideration. Just start questioning, start thinking. I know I've been creating some ways to even evaluate your space right now. Like, how can, okay, what kind of chairs do we have? What kind of lighting do we have? Like, start thinking through that. So, maybe one of the goals that you may have for your own youth ministry is that's the one goal. For the next 6 months, we're going to change this. So we're going to make this better and more inviting. Or the next year, whatever that is. But yeah, we thank you guys for watching, and let's pray for Angelica, for her ministry in Queens and for all that she does in her life. Thank you for your expertise, your hospitality, and all of that. All right, y'all. God bless. Peace.